past battles slowly leaving his small shoulders. The creatures moved around him with grace, guarding him as naturally as breathing. Their loyalty was unwavering, their intelligence remarkable, and their love for the child unshakable. Leora realized that this bond, born in fear, solidified in danger, was now a symbol of hope for the galaxy. Eli, resting atop the tallest creature, looked up at the stars. "We're safe now, right?" he asked softly. The creature lowered its head, brushing him gently as if to answer, "Yes, forever." Leora smiled. Humanity's promise was not just words. It was action, witnessed in the courage of the child, the bravery of the creatures, and the fleet hovering above, ready to defend them. In the coming days, humanity sent envoys to the planet, studying the silver-furred species, learning their language, their customs, their hearts, and everywhere, Eli's story was told, a story of bravery, of loyalty, and of the unbreakable bond between a human child and those who chose to protect him. The galaxy would never forget that day. The day when humans recognized courage where they saw it. The day one child changed the fate of an entire species. And the day humanity proved that protection, loyalty, and heart were its greatest weapons. Commander Leora stood on the observation deck of the Orion, watching the creatures and the child together. A quiet pride filled her chest. Humanity had acted not out of fear or obligation, but out of principle. And in doing so, they had not only protected a species, they had expanded what it meant to be human. The stars above glimmered as if in agreement. The galaxy had witnessed something rare, something powerful. Humanity's promise was now written in the hearts of many, and the silver-furred creatures would never be alone again. The calm that had settled over the forest and its silver-furred guardians was broken by a distant, ominous roar. Eli, playing among the ferns, froze and looked up. High above, streaks of red energy marked the return of the Red Talon scavenger fleet. They were larger, faster, more aggressive than before, determined to capture the child and claim the creatures. Leora's hands tightened on the Orion's console. She had warned Earth to stay alert, but the fleet's sudden reappearance sent a shiver of dread through her. "They've come back. Stronger," she muttered, her voice tight with tension. On the ground, the creatures immediately took defensive positions. Their circle around Eli tightened, their glowing blue eyes scanning the sky with unwavering focus. Even though they were not armed like the human fleet above, their courage radiated like a living shield. Eli ran to the tallest creature, clinging to its fur, and whispered, "I'm scared." The creature lowered its head, nuzzling him, a silent promise that they would not let harm touch him. The first scavenger ships fired. Red bolts of energy streaked through the air, striking trees and earth alike. Sparks flew as the creatures deflected some blasts with shimmering shields, while others used their incredible agility to dodge attacks. Despite the overwhelming firepower, they remained unbroken. Then human ships engaged. From orbit, Earth's fleet struck with precision, intercepting scavenger cruisers before they could reach the surface. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the attackers, exploding with controlled fury. But the creatures continued their guardianship on the ground, guiding Eli through safer areas and signaling humans where the enemy could strike. Eli's fear began to fade as he realized the creatures were fearless. He lifted his small face and said, "I think we can win." The tallest creature lowered its head in what felt like understanding, pressing its soft fur against him. Leora's heart ached with emotion. The child had inspired bravery in them, and they were inspiring courage in him in return. The battle raged. Scavenger ships swarmed, pressing relentlessly. The creatures moved as one, each step precise, each gesture protective. When a massive cruiser aimed a devastating beam at their position, the tallest creature leapt into the path, glowing brighter than ever. The energy struck, shaking the ground, but the child remained safe, held tightly against its chest. Humans and creatures coordinated like never before. Leora watched in awe as the silver-furred beings guided human squads, signaling the safest paths and warning of ambushes. The combination of human technology and alien instinct proved unstoppable. Every scavenger ship that had once seemed invincible fell one by one, driven back into the void. Eli, seeing the determination of his protectors and the humans above, felt a courage he had never known. He shouted, "We won't let them take anyone!" His voice, small but fierce, echoed across the forest. The creatures responded with a resonant roar, a sound of defiance and unity. When the last of the scavenger ships fled, The forest fell silent again. Smoke rose in thin tendrils, but Eli was safe. He ran to the tallest creature, laughing and crying at the same time. "We did it! We really did it!" he exclaimed, hugging it tightly. The creature nuzzled him, and for the first time, Leora thought she saw a smile in its glowing eyes. From orbit, Leora transmitted a report to Earth. "The child is safe." The creatures fought bravely. Together, humans and these beings have repelled the scavengers completely. They are not just allies. They are family. In the quiet aftermath, Eli sat among the silver-furred guardians, the setting sun painting the sky in gold and orange. For the first time, he truly understood the depth of their loyalty and the meaning of protection. Humanity's promise was not empty. The creatures had proven their courage, and humanity had honored it. Together they had faced impossible odds, and together they had won. The bond between child, creatures, and humanity had grown unbreakable, a shining example across the galaxy that bravery and loyalty could cross species, and that even the smallest being could inspire the mightiest acts. The battle was over. The forest lay quiet, though the scent of smoke and the scars of energy blasts still lingered. Eli sat atop the tallest silver-furred creature, brushing his fingers across its soft fur. He had laughed, cried, and screamed, but now there was only relief. For the first time since the crash, he felt truly safe. The creatures surrounding him lowered their heads, scanning the horizon. They remained vigilant, but their eyes glowed with something new: understanding. They realized they were no longer just protectors of a single human child. Humanity had declared them under its protection. They were no longer alone. Commander Leora stood on the observation deck of the Orion, watching the scene unfold. Her heart swelled with pride. Humanity had acted with courage, compassion, and principle. They had not conquered this planet, nor demanded allegiance. They had recognized bravery and loyalty, and in doing so they had changed the fate of an entire species. Eli looked up at the stars, his small voice trembling with awe. "Do you think they'll really protect you now?" The tallest creature lowered its head to nuzzle him as if answering, "Yes, always." Eli smiled, feeling a warmth that went beyond the physical comfort of fur. It was trust, love, and the promise of safety. From orbit, Earth's fleet maintained a protective perimeter, ensuring no threat could return to the planet. Reports were sent across the galaxy, showing the courage of the silver-furred creatures, the bravery of the child, and the unwavering protection humanity had provided. Across countless worlds, species began to speak differently of humans, not as fragile or reckless, but as guardians. Humanity's reputation had shifted. They were defenders of the innocent, champions of loyalty, and symbols of courage. Eli climbed down from the creature's back, running to the smaller ones that had joined in the defense. He laughed as they nuzzled him, careful not to hurt him, their tails flicking in excitement. Leora's eyes softened. She realized that this child, small and vulnerable, had been the catalyst for something extraordinary. His innocence had inspired courage. His survival had inspired an alliance that no weapon could have forced. The creatures, now fully aware of their new status, seemed to relax. They circled Eli, protective yet calm, their glowing eyes meeting his with understanding. The child reached out, holding the hands of two of the smaller creatures. "We're a team," he said simply. And it was true. They had fought together, bled together, and survived together. They were family now. Leora's voice echoed in the communication system. "Humanity protects those who are brave enough to protect others. That is our promise. Today it has been fulfilled." Across the galaxy, species listened. Some marveled, some respected, and some reconsidered what they had thought they knew about humans. Night fell over the planet, the stars reflecting off the silver fur of the creatures. Eli sat among them, his head resting against the tallest one. He whispered, "I think we'll be okay." The creature lowered its head, a soft, comforting hum vibrating through its body. Leora smiled through the view screen. Humanity's promise had not been empty. For the first time, Eli saw the galaxy not as a place of fear, but as a place where courage, loyalty, and love could create bonds stronger than any weapon. And for the creatures who had fought with every ounce of strength for a human child, there was a new understanding. They had allies now, and those allies were humanity itself. As the first light of dawn touched the forest, the planet seemed to breathe in relief. The silver-furred creatures, the child and humanity were united in purpose and heart. Across the stars, a message had been sent and received. When humans declare protection, it is not empty words. It is action, courage, and unwavering loyalty. Eli laughed. The stars stretched endlessly above the spaceship Orion, a dark ocean of sparkling lights that made Commander Leora feel both small and alive. She leaned against the control panel, her eyes scanning the planet below. It was small, quiet, and mostly covered in dense forests. At first glance, it seemed like any other uncharted world. But something made her pause. A small shuttle had crash-landed near the edge of a shimmering blue river. Smoke curled from its broken engines. Leora's heart clenched. She had seen countless human ships destroyed in deep space, but this one carried a child. A human child, alone, terrified, and completely unprotected. She activated the ship's long-range scanner. Something moved below the treetops. Small flashes of silver caught her eye. She zoomed in. There, among the giant ferns and glowing flowers, were creatures unlike anything in the Galactic Codex. They were tall, with soft silver fur that shimmered faintly under the sun, and eyes that glowed a deep, gentle blue. Their long limbs moved gracefully, almost like dancers, and yet despite their size and strength, their posture was careful, cautious, almost reverent. Then she saw it. The child. He was small, curled up on the forest floor, shivering, eyes wide with fear. The silver creatures approached slowly, moving as if stepping on invisible cracks in the earth. Leora's breath caught. They didn't attack. They didn't make noise. They only circled the child, their hands hovering near him, protective. One creature lowered its head, letting the boy's trembling hand brush against its soft fur. Unbelievable. Leora whispered to herself. They're protecting him. But the moment of awe passed quickly. Sensors detected movement in orbit, scavenger ships. The infamous Red Talon fleet, known across the galaxy for hunting humans, had found the child. Leora's chest tightened. She knew what they would do. They wouldn't hesitate to capture him for their slave markets. She watched as the silver creatures reacted. Their bodies shifted into a defensive stance, circling tighter around the boy. Even from orbit, she could see the determination in their posture. There was no fear, only resolve. Every instinct they had screamed to protect this human child. And somehow Leora knew they would fight no matter the cost. The child looked up at them, tears streaming down his cheeks. He reached out a tiny hand, and one of the creatures gently lifted him onto its shoulders. Leora's eyes stung. The bond between them was instant, unspoken, and real. It was a bond forged not through words or promises, but through pure courage and care. Leora's mind raced. Earth would want to know. They had never seen anything like this. No human child had ever been defended by an alien species with such unwavering bravery. She tapped the communication console, sending a brief message to Earth. Unknown species discovered. Protective behavior observed. Child at risk. Recommend immediate response, but she knew it would take time. And in those precious minutes, the silver creatures were all that stood between the boy and the scavenger fleet. Leora felt a lump in her throat. They were small, strange, and completely unarmed compared to the fleet above. And yet somehow she felt certain they would not fail. As the sun set over the forest, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the creatures stood like silent guardians. The boy clung to one, finally finding warmth and safety in its soft fur. Leora's heart swelled. She realized with a mix of awe and hope that humanity had just found something extraordinary. Somewhere in the galaxy there were beings brave enough to defend a human child with their lives. And perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy was about to see that humans were worth protecting, not because of strength, but because of the bonds they inspired. And in that moment, high above the quiet planet, Commander Leora understood something powerful. This was only the beginning. The calm of the forest was shattered by the distant hum of engines. Leora's scanner screamed a warning. The Red Talon scavenger fleet had begun their descent. Red lights flickered on the horizon as the ships moved closer, their weapons glowing ominously. Leora's heart raced. She could see it clearly now. The fleet intended to take the child, no questions asked. Down below, the silver-furred creatures stiffened. Their glowing blue eyes scanned the skies, then back at the trembling boy. Leora watched as one of the creatures taller than the rest stepped forward, lowering its head to shield him. It let out a low, resonant sound, a warning, a promise. The other creatures mirrored it, forming a circle around the child, their bodies pressed close, hands hovering in a protective stance. The boy, Eli, whimpered, but did not run. He reached out to touch one of the creature's hands, and the soft fur calmed him. "It's okay," he whispered, though he wasn't sure if it was for himself or the creatures. His small voice was carried through the forest, and Leora felt tears prick her eyes. In the middle of danger, trust had been built instantly, like it had always belonged there. The first scavenger ship fired. A streak of red energy tore through the trees. Leora gasped as the creatures reacted with astonishing speed. One leapt into the path of the blast, its body glowing with a strange, shimmering shield. The energy struck and sparks flew, but the creature held firm. Another threw its long arms outward, creating a protective barrier that pushed Eli safely to the ground. Leora's fingers hovered over the console. She wanted to intervene, to fire her own weapons, but she hesitated. The creatures didn't need her. Their courage was raw, pure, and unshakable. They were ready to face death for the child. And she realized something terrifying and wonderful at the same time. These beings, unknown and unrecorded in the Galactic Codex, understood what humanity had always believed, that a child must be protected at all costs. More ships descended, weapons aimed directly at the group. The creatures shifted, forming patterns Leora could not comprehend, yet instinctively she knew they were strategizing. They communicated without words, glances, gestures, a synchronized movement that made their circle tighter, stronger, unbroken. Eli clung to the tallest one, burying his face in its fur. I don't want to die," he whispered. The creature lowered its head, nuzzling him as if to say, "You won't, not while we are here." Leora's chest ached. Across countless galaxies, humans had faced dangers alone. But here was something different, a species willing to risk everything for one child. The scavengers fired again, but the creatures moved faster than any human eye could track. One intercepted a blast mid-air, its body glowing brighter as energy rippled over its fur. Another grabbed a fallen branch, hurling it like a spear, striking one of the approaching scout ships and forcing it to retreat. Leora's jaw dropped. Their strength was incredible, but their intelligence, their instinct to protect, was what struck her the most. She transmitted a message to Earth, her voice shaking with awe. These creatures, they protect the child at all costs. They are loyal. They are brave. They deserve protection too. And then, in a moment of quiet that felt impossible amid the chaos, the creature's eyes met Eli's. For a heartbeat, the world froze. No words, no orders, just understanding. Eli clutched their fur tighter, and for the first time since the crash, he felt safe. Leora realized that the true battle wasn't just with the scavengers. The battle was with fear itself, with helplessness. And in this forest, under alien trees with alien suns, a human child was being taught a lesson about courage, trust, and hope that no human could have taught him alone. As the red Talon ships hovered, calculating, waiting for an opening, the creatures remained unmoved. They would fight. They would protect. They would not fail. And in that moment, high above in the Orion, Leora felt a surge of hope. Humanity had allies in the galaxy. Allies who understood the heart of what it meant to protect, to care, to stand unflinching before danger. The first battle was about to begin. And somehow, against impossible odds, Leora knew the child would survive. The distant rumble of engines grew louder. Earth had responded. Leora saw the first human fleet emerging from hyperspace, their ships cutting through the black sky with precision and power. But she didn't lower her guard. The child was still in danger, and the silver-furred creatures were the only ones keeping him safe on the planet's surface. On the ground, the creatures adjusted their positions. Their circle tightened around Eli, their bodies glowing faintly as energy shields flared to life. They weren't perfect fighters. Their technology was strange, almost primitive compared to the human fleet, but their instinct, their courage was unmatched. Every movement was purposeful, every glance calculated. Leora realized she had never seen such focus. The scavenger fleet, sensing Earth's arrival, redoubled its efforts. Ships dived lower, weapons blazing. The sky lit with red energy, streaking through clouds and trees. One ship managed to break through the creature's formation, firing directly at Eli. Leora held her breath. But the tallest creature leapt without hesitation, intercepting the blast with its shimmering shield. Sparks danced across its fur, but it did not falter. Eli screamed and the creature's head lowered protectively, muffling the child's small body with its massive form. Leora felt a lump in her throat. She had seen heroes before, soldiers who fought for honor, for glory. But this was something different. These beings fought for love, for loyalty, for the life of a child who had done nothing but crash on their planet. The human fleet fired in coordinated bursts. Energy beams cut through the scavenger ranks, disabling engines as scattering ships. Yet the creatures on the ground did not hesitate to risk themselves further, guiding Eli through the underbrush to safer positions, covering every step with precision. It was a dance of courage and strategy, and Leora's eyes widened in awe. Eli, holding onto one of the creature's long arms, whispered in a trembling voice, "You're my family, right?" The creature's head tilted and it nuzzled him gently. For a moment, time seemed to pause. In that touch, in that silent reassurance, Eli felt love stronger than fear. And Leora understood that this bond, this trust, was more powerful than any weapon in the galaxy. The battle intensified. Scavenger ships swarmed, their firepower overwhelming even the most seasoned human pilots. But with the creature's guidance, humans managed to anticipate attacks, avoiding destruction. Leora realized that these beings were more than protectors. They were tacticians. They moved like a single mind, each aware of the other's strength and weakness. Then it happened. A massive scavenger cruiser broke through the orbit, aiming a massive weapon directly at the forest. Leora's fingers trembled over the controls. But before she could act, the creatures reacted instinctively. They formed a living barrier in front of Eli, glowing with energy that seemed to pulse from their very hearts. The weapon struck, sending shockwaves through the trees, but the creatures held firm. Not a single child or silver-furred being fell. Leora's voice shook as she transmitted a message to Earth. These creatures, they are incredible. They protect the child at all costs. Every human on Earth must know. They are brave, loyal, and deserve our protection. From orbit, the human fleet coordinated a final push. Energy beams and missiles drove the scavengers back. Explosions lit the sky, and slowly, the Red Talon fleet began to retreat. Leora watched as the creatures regrouped around Eli, their eyes never leaving him, their posture still unyielding. Eli looked up at the tallest one, tears streaking his face, and said, "Thank you. I'll never forget you." The creature lowered its head, and for the first time it made a sound that resembled a sigh. Relief, perhaps, or pride. Leora realized something profound. This child, lost and alone, had inspired an act of bravery that no human alone could have achieved. Across the galaxy, humans and their new allies had fought together, united by the simple truth that protecting the innocent was more important than fear, more important than war. In that quiet forest, surrounded by the echoes of battle, Leora felt hope rise. Humanity had found friends who understood them in a way that weapons and diplomacy never could. The silver-furred creatures had proven that courage and loyalty could cross species, and that sometimes one child could change the fate of many. The battle was over, but a bond had been forged, a bond that would echo across the stars. The forest was quiet again, though the air still smelled of smoke and scorched earth. Eli sat on the soft silver fur of the tallest creature, his small arms wrapped tightly around its neck. He was safe for now, but the fear in his eyes hadn't completely faded. Leora hovered above in the Orion, watching through the ship's cameras, heart aching at the sight of the child finally finding comfort in a world so alien. The creatures, still alert, scanned the forest around them. Every movement of the leaves, every sound in the underbrush was noted. They were vigilant, protective, but calm. Their glowing blue eyes reflected intelligence and, most importantly, empathy. Leora marveled. No human or alien species she had ever encountered fought for someone else with this kind of instinctive, unconditional loyalty. Eli lifted his face from the creature's fur and whispered, I think I love you." The creature responded with a gentle nuzzle, pressing its head against him as if to say, "And I love you too." Leora felt tears sting her eyes. Humanity had always believed in protecting the weak, but to see it mirrored in a species so different, so unknown, was almost overwhelming. The child's laughter, small and bright, rang through the clearing. It was a sound that belonged to no one but him, yet it echoed across the forest like a promise. Leora knew that this moment, this bond forming between species, was rare. Across the galaxy, most encounters ended in fear or conflict. But here, in this quiet place scarred by battle, a connection had been forged that could not be broken. Leora activated the communication console. She had to report this to Earth immediately. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. These creatures, they are extraordinary. They care for the child like no human or alien has ever done. We cannot leave them unprotected. They have proven themselves brave, loyal, and humane. Earth's response was swift. High Council members debated quickly and decisively, and a historic decision was made. These silver-furred creatures would be declared under the protection of humanity. Any attack on them would be considered an attack on Earth itself. Leora smiled faintly as the order was broadcast across the galaxy. Finally, the courage she had witnessed was being recognized. Meanwhile, Eli's bond with the creatures deepened. He learned to trust them not only with his safety but with his fears, his questions, and even his small joys. He played among the ferns and streams with them, laughing freely for the first time since the crash. The creatures mimicked his movements, careful not to harm him, yet protective with every step he took. Leora watched, realizing that this child's survival had created a bridge between two species, one that could change the way the galaxy saw humanity. At night, when the stars lit the sky like scattered diamonds, Eli would sit beside the tallest creature, gazing upward. "Do you see that?" he asked softly. "Those are humans up there. They're coming for us, aren't they?" The creature's glowing eyes fixed on the sky, and Eli felt comforted. Somewhere out there, humans were aware of their bravery, their loyalty, and their need for protection. Leora felt hope rise within her. Across the vast emptiness of space, humanity had found allies, not because of orders, treaties, or weapons, but because of a child's life and a species' courage. She realized that empathy, loyalty, and compassion were as powerful as any fleet, any weapon, any law. The bond between Eli and the creatures was no longer just survival. It was love, trust, and family. And Leora understood something that she would carry with her forever. The greatest power humanity could wield was not conquest, but the ability to inspire loyalty, courage, and care across species. For the first time since the crash, Eli felt safe in a world that had once seemed so dangerous, and the creatures for the first time seemed to understand that they were not just guardians of a child. They were now part of something greater. They were, in a way, part of humanity itself. As the night deepened and the stars shimmered above, the silver-furred creatures and the human child rested together. And in that quiet, unspoken moment, a promise formed, one that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity protects those who are brave enough to protect others. The human fleet hovered above the planet, a shimmering line of silver and blue against the black canvas of space. Commander Leora watched, heart swelling with pride and awe. Below, the silver-furred creatures continued to guard Eli, standing alert even as the human ships signaled their presence. They did not need humans to fight for them. They had already proven their courage, but now the galaxy would see their worth. Earth's High Council convened an emergency session. Reports from Leora and her team had painted a picture of something extraordinary, a species willing to risk everything to protect a human child, demonstrating intelligence, bravery, and empathy beyond measure. In a historic decision, the Council drafted a declaration. Its words would ripple across the stars, changing how humans and aliens alike would understand humanity. Let it be known, the Council's spokesperson broadcasted across galactic frequencies, that the silver-furred species of planet Xylon shall henceforth be considered under the protection of humanity. Any act of aggression against them will be treated as an act of war against Earth itself. These beings have demonstrated courage, loyalty, and an understanding of life that reflects the highest ideals of our species. Humanity recognizes them as our allies and our responsibility. On the planet's surface, Eli sat on the soft fur of the tallest creature. He didn't fully understand the words being spoken across the galaxy, but he felt their meaning deep in his heart. The creatures around him stiffened at the announcement, their glowing eyes reflecting both confusion and something new. Hope. For the first time, they realized that they were not just protectors of a single child. They were now protected, honored, and recognized by the very species they had saved. Leora transmitted her voice to the planet. "You are safe. Earth will protect you," she said gently. The creatures tilted their heads, understanding at last the weight of the promise. Eli smiled, holding tightly onto their fur. "See, you're my family now, and everyone else's too," he whispered. Across the galaxy, the announcement spread like wildfire. Traders, explorers, and even rival empires paused to listen. Some were skeptical. How could humanity, often seen as fragile or reckless, claim guardianship over a species it had never met? But then the images came, the creatures standing unflinching against a hail of energy fire to shield a small child. Their courage was undeniable, and the galaxy began to understand something profound. Humanity's strength lay not only in weapons or numbers, but in the values they inspired. Back on the planet, Leora watched as Eli laughed and played, the tension of the